They love every bit of it. You'll have a poor underclass forever. They don't care if they're black, Hispanic, doesn't matter to them. They will bury you as long as you vote for them. This story I read this weekend, I sent myself an email on it because I just, again, can't express to you in strong enough terms how the Republicans may not be the solution to all of your problems. Matter of fact, they may be adding to many of your problems. But I'm telling you, the cause of almost all of our collective problems are, in fact, the liberal wing of the Democrat Party. I have no doubt about that. None. That's why I could never, ever vote for a Democrat, ever. Because it's like a little bit of a problem or a really big problem with the Democrat. I'll take the little problem every single time. So I read this story in the Wall Street Journal, and I thought to myself, normal, sane people read this and scratch their heads. So the University of California, the Board of Regents, is eliminating the SAT and the ACT. Here's the story. California's college testing mistake. The state's university system puts racial politics above merit. This story is, so just to be clear, the SAT and ACT, which are, there's no evidence these are biased tests at all. None. No credible evidence. These are tests of both aptitude and achievement, what you're capable of and what you have achieved. Are they perfect tests? No, no test is perfect. If they were perfect tests, then we wouldn't need grades or anything else. I mean, talking about aptitude tests, you'd say, forget the grades. Everybody just take this aptitude achievement test and then you can get into college. There are no perfect tests. That's why we use a spectrum of things, college grades, life experience, ACT, SAT. I'll be honest with you, folks. I did not score very well on the SAT. I scored average. I forget what I got, but it was a little bit above average. Did you do well on yours, Paula? How did you do? She doesn't remember, which says to me she did okay too, because if she knew it, she'd be happy to tell me about how great it was. She'd be like, it was awesome, and I kicked your caboose on my SAT. So let's assume me and Paula did a little bit above average. But we were super hard workers. I eventually got into graduate school. I got into college, graduate school, and then graduate school again. They don't like that, the libs. They don't want that. They're not interested at all in an unbiased measure of people's intelligence. But why? Why? Because as I've told you, liberals are always the cause of your problems. So liberals have taken over the public education system, K through 12. They have. They dominate it. The teachers' unions. Listen, I love teachers. Their unions not doing the right thing. I'm really sorry. They're not representing kids. They're representing financial interests. That's what they do. They have ruined the K through 12 system. They hate school choice. They hate homeschooling because the K through 12 system, they want a monopoly over your kid's education, even if it stinks. And Joe, what's hurting them right now? Well, these kids in these largely liberal areas, big cities where the school systems are totally collapsing, Baltimore, Cleveland, St. Louis, portions of LA, New York, where the kids are getting a horrible education, are now taking these unbiased tests, the SAT and ACT, and people are figuring out quickly that they're not learning anything. And the K through 12 public education bureaucracy is embarrassed. So liberals, again, not here to fix your problems at all. Instead of helping and saying, Joe, a normal thing like, hey, Daddy-o, I think we should fix the education system because these kids, they're not learning anything. Instead of doing that, they double down and say, let's wipe clean the test where people are figuring out they're not learning anything. From the Wall Street Journal piece. California's political class is so desperate to create a different racial makeup at the University of California, and it sees testing as an obstacle. The SAT shines a light on failures and inequalities in California's public K-12 school system. Black and Hispanic students are more likely to attend low-quality schools, which, because of unions, are nearly impossible to reform. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not kidding when I tell you this. Poor Joe's had to listen to this for 3 years as I've railed on and on about school choice. It is the civil rights issue of our time. There are two Americas right now. It is sad, but it is true. I'm not talking about shutdowns versus that's a totally different topic. I'm talking about Americans and young Americans who are getting educated in decent schools with quality teachers who then go on to make decent money and support their families. There's another America locked behind the doors of garbage schools with sadly some, not all, but some teachers who just don't care anymore, with teachers unions who back these teachers up, who are getting an awful education. And hat tip to the good teachers in bad schools who are making it happen, by the way. These kids don't live in the America you and I do. I've told you the story over and over. When I was a street cop, 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, whenever it was, I run into this young kid on the street. The kid, I don't know, he's 8 or 9. I worked as a cop in one of the worst areas in New York. The kid says to me, I'm like, what are you doing out? I was going to walk him home back to the projects. I think he lived in a Lincoln Towers or whatever it was in East New York. And I said to him, what do you want to do when you grow up? And he looked at me like I had 10 heads, like he had never thought about that question before. And he said, I want to be a rapper like AZ. And I said, oh, Jay-Z. Jay-Z was kind of an up-and-coming rapper in Brooklyn at the time, now married to Beyonce. He said, no, that's not what I said. I said AZ. I never forgot that. Matter of fact, I wrote about it in my first book. AZ was a local total thug, street rapper kid, drug dealer, loser, like an epic loser. That's who he wanted to be, that kid. I never forgot that. This kid grew up in an entirely different America. I couldn't get this kid's face out of him. I still, to this day, I tell that story because I was really genuinely hurt that there was almost nothing I could do for this kid. Nothing. I think I saw him around a couple more times, but horrible schools his parents sent him to. No way out. None. That's why I tell you again, you want to know why I'll never vote Democrat in my life? They know it. They know that kid. He didn't even want to, forget about Jay-Z. He wanted to be AZ. That's all he knew. And those Democrats love it. They love every bit of it. You'll have a poor underclass forever. They don't care if they're black, Hispanic. Doesn't matter to them. They will bury you as long as you vote for them.
You just heard The Dan Bongino Show. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud. And follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 @DBongino.